What's going on, guys? It's Joesty. I just wanted to get out and do a vid on the reason why I actually bought this bike over the Ducati Streetfighter. I was actually supposed to be out here on the Busa today. I was switching the wastegate springs to up the boost a little bit on the Busa. Turns out I bought the wrong spring, so no Busa today, boys. I'm gonna have to run the half mile on 10 pounds. Kind of sucks, but it is what it is. But basically, I wanted to talk about why I chose the Aprilia and not the Ducati Streetfighter, because the dealer I bought this bike from actually had a Ducati Streetfighter. It was the S version of the Ducati Streetfighter, so it was the more expensive one on the showroom floor, and they had a ton of Aprilias. So this Aprilia, as you know, I got as a leftover model, a 2019. The Ducati is a 2020. Ducati's a 2020, and it was extremely more expensive because this bike I got for $15,400 because it was a leftover. I think they were asking $24,000 on the Ducati. So right off the bat, it's like a $9 grand savings just going for the Aprilia. Oop, a little flip is up from filling up gas earlier, but $9 grand right off rip. So that was a huge factor. But the other things are, the Ducati makes a ton of power at peak horsepower. So like way up in the rev range. And I'm sure it makes a good bit of torque through the mid-range, but the Aprilia, from what everybody said, was basically, it made so much more torque in the mid-range that it was more fun to ride. Now, I have not ridden the Ducati, so I can't verify this. This is just off of all the reviews I was watching, because I was watching a lot of them, trying to decide what I'm going to buy. And every single time you get a street super naked shootout, the Aprilia has won like 5 years in a row. I mean, if it has won 5 years in a row, there's got to be something great about this bike. Something fantastic. Let's see if she'll power wheelie second. Oh yeah, she will. She will power wheelie second, boys. Tons of power, plenty of power. I mean, for a naked bike, I don't need any more power than this. The Ducati has more power. Undoubtedly, it has more power. But I mean, I don't use that top of the rev range that much. Like, that was what, 6-7 grand? I was just yanking it up. Plenty of power for me. I mean, as far as specs on the bikes, other than horsepower, they're pretty dang close. They both have great suspensions, both have great brakes. I'm pretty sure they have the same brakes too. I mean, they are just both... Oh man, this is the first time I've revved the bike out ever since I was breaking it in. Yeah, she's got 86 miles on her. She's nice and broke in, boys. But I mean, they're so close, and everybody always edges it to the Aprilia. Even the guys that have ran the new Ducati said they would rather have an Aprilia. So I mean, why pay more for a bike that doesn't get you there in the end? Like, I would rather have the bike that does it for me, and the Aprilia does it for me. I mean, aesthetically, yeah, the Ducati's probably a little better looking, in my opinion. That's really the only thing that, like, I can see, okay, it definitely takes it in the looks department. The Aprilia is a good looking bike, don't get me wrong, but that Ducati looks freaking fire. I mean, it looks fire. Those little winglets too, woo! The Aprilia sounds way better. Reason number 2 why I do not want to buy the Ducati Streetfighter is the freaking exhaust system on that bike is outrageous. Outrageous. Like, a full Akrapovic exhaust for that bike is like thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, outrageous amounts of money. I mean, for this bike, I can do an Akrapovic 3/4 system if I wanted to. Delete the cat, still titanium, 900 bucks. Like, 900 bones. Don't need to mess with the headers because they're fine. They flow fine. The only thing really restricting you is the cat. I'm not going to put a $2,500 full system on this bike to gain maybe 1 horsepower. That's ridiculous. And I'm sure they'd be a pain in the butt to install. Tons of power. Man, this thing just from down low just yanks ya. I really want to do some clutch ups, but I really want to get a little more miles on it. I'm already kind of beating it. One of the things I like about this bike, though, is when you turn the bike off and turn it back on, it remembers all of your settings. So you don't have to go back through and like turn your wheelie control off, do all that load of crap. Like, I hated that when you would turn your bike off with wheelie control off and then you come back on and it's like back on. That was just annoying. That every time, like, I want to be a hooligan on every ride, guys. I don't want to be turning this freaking wheelie control off, you know. I want to be out here just freaking ripping second gear powers to third gear, you know. I don't want to have to turn that off for that kind of excitement. But that's another big reason is the exhaust, because I can't buy a bike and leave it stock exhaust. So you guys know that. I can't do that. It's not going to happen. Ducati's not going to happen because of that fact. I'm not dropping no 5-6 grand on an exhaust. Ain't gonna happen. The other thing is, this is a personal preference. Not everybody thinks this, but I personally do not like the sound of Ducatis. I know. Go ahead and hate me. I don't like them. Like, it just doesn't do it for me. The Aprilia, though, that exhaust note, fantastic. Fan-freaking-tastic. Couldn't find a better exhaust note. Maybe the H2 is pushing it. The H2 sounds pretty rowdy, but the H2 is just so obnoxiously loud. It's like you're doing a ride for 60 miles, blowing everybody's eardrums out around you. Now, the other reason why I didn't want to get the Ducati over the Streetfighter is everybody says that Aprilia feels better in the corners. That could be a personal preference for who was riding it. I don't know. I'm sure the Ducati corners really, really well. I mean, the single-sided swing arm looks sick on that bike, but it may have something to do with how it handles. I mean, obviously, the Panigale has a single-sided swing arm. It is a phenomenally handling bike. I mean, that bike is sick. They had a couple of those there, and I had to stop looking at them. I might have taken one of them home. But I don't want to pay more for a bike that does everything almost as good as the cheaper bike, you know? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Now, granted, I probably would have gotten a lot more YouTube views had I got the Ducati, but I don't think I wanted to. Let's see how she does. Try to keep her down in second. She was coming up. She was coming up. Lots of head shake. Lots of head shake there. She freaking rips, though. She definitely rips. I probably had a little bit too much pressure on the bars. I'm not used to riding a naked bike like I used to be. She rips. Wind protection is not the best. It's okay. It's better than some of the naked bikes I've ridden. Once you get up there around 120, my head was doing a little bit of this, you know, a little bit of that bobble. She's definitely powerful, though. I mean, second gear powers are no problem for this bike. Lots of head shake there. This does have an electronic steering dampener. We got a lot of head shake on that going down from that wheelie, though. She was pointed straight, I think, too. I mean, I didn't come down all crooked or anything. I mean, that's the biggest points why I didn't buy the Ducati, because I know a lot of you guys wanted me to get the Ducati. And the other bike that I was looking at that I had to pass on was the ZH2. Now, the ZH2 is probably a really great bike. I say probably because it's a freaking H2, it's got to be a really great bike. The reason why I didn't get the ZH2 is it's just basically about brute force, straight line speed. It's a heavy bike, and I already have 2 brute force, straight line speed bikes. Like, I'm not going to buy a naked version of the H2 when I have an H2 and it not be that great at corners. I'm sure a corner's fine, but nowhere near as good as the Aprilia or the Ducati would have. I don't think I would want to take the ZH2 out to the racetrack and really put some hot laps on that bike. It's too big, it's too bulky, and I'd wear myself out flipping it back and forth all day, you know? I don't know if it can hold a line as good. It's got great brakes, but it weighs so much that I don't know if that really matters. Like, this thing would probably outbrake the crap out of the ZH2. The other thing, the ZH2 just really doesn't have that many mods out for it yet, and to really make that bike worthwhile over the other bikes, you need an ECU flash on it, which nobody's cracked it yet. Nobody's cracked the ECU to be able to flash it, because that's where it's really going to be that standout bike, you know, above these bikes. Because everybody's like, oh, it's ZH2, you know, it's got a couple more horsepower, but it's heavy and it doesn't handle as well. It really doesn't make it stand out that much. But when you get a freaking flash and pipe on that thing, and it puts out 230 to the tire, everybody's going to be like, okay, we know who the king of the naked power is. It's going to be that ZH2. As soon as they crack that code, that bike is going to be straight ridiculous. Can you imagine a naked bike with 230 wheel horsepower? You'd be doing wheelies in 6th gear at like 180. It'd be stupid. I kind of like that idea. I kind of like stupid things like that, you know? One thing that I hadn't tried yet until just now is the rear brake. And this bike is probably the best rear brake I've ever used. You know how you get most bikes and they're like, the rear brake is like laughable, like doesn't even do anything? Like, rear brake. Holy crap. That feels better than some front brakes I've been on. Like, some bikes' front brakes are such trash that the Aprilia has a better rear brake. Oh, just tossing it up. Oh, this bike's got a lot of power for a naked. A lot of power. Oh, see, they opened the gay bar back up. Ah, just kidding, guys. Don't hate me if you ride a Harley. Oh, freaking ramp it right here. Oh, yeah. Oh, she boogies. She definitely boogies. Woo! Got a lot of power, boys. This is definitely faster than an MT10. Definitely. The MT10 is a better hooligan bike. Oh man. Straight up a hoon bike, for sure. Definitely begs you to be super aggressive on the throttle. I mean, it's so easy. It's just right there. You want to do a little power wheelie? Just tickle the throttle a little bit. This seat is super comfortable on this bike too. Most bikes, like when you buy them, the stock seat's trash, even nakeds. This one, not at all. This is a great seat. Fine seat. Great butt cheek holder. 10 out of 10. She's definitely broken now, boys. We gave her 75-ish easy miles. We're gonna give her 500 miles of hell to reach that 600. I don't think I'm missing any reasons why I bought this over the Ducati and the ZH2. I mean, it pretty much just came down to what kind of bike I'm going to get for the money. And the Aprilia, I've been eyeballing this thing for a while, to be honest, guys. Like, ever since I sold my last MT10, I've been eyeballing an Aprilia. I just never really pulled the trigger on it because I got so deep into sport bikes. But I'm glad I did. I mean, this is a sick bike. I definitely miss how comfortable these bikes are, and this bike really doesn't sacrifice a whole lot in capability. Now, yeah, like something like an R1 or an RSV4 is going to be more capable, without a doubt, but I mean, it's like so marginal that unless you're a really good track rider, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm just a freaking intermittent track rider, you know. I ride B group. I'm not out there in advanced group, you know, so it's not going to matter too much to me. I think it'll be fun out there. The Ducati definitely had a strong run at it. I was looking at the Ducati and I was thinking about it, but like after adding everything up, I was like, man, I'm going to spend $9 grand more for the bike. I put an exhaust on, put a few mods on it. Like, I'm going to be 30 G's deep into this thing. Like a good solid 12, 13 grand more into that than I would have been into the Aprilia after mods. It just made it a no-brainer. I had to go for the Aprilia. But I hope you guys like this little quick run. I've got the half mile coming up in a few days with the boost. So we're going to be on 10 pounds of boost, but we're going to make the best of it. So we're only going to be on like 273 wheel horsepower. That's it, just 273, you know, but we'll make the best of it. So I don't think I'm going to be able to hit 200. I don't know if I would have with freaking 293 wheel horsepower, to be honest with you. If I hit 190, I'll be stoked. But that's coming up, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time.